to the Marketing Lab, your go-to podcast for all marketing information. I'm your host, Tyler, and we'll cover different tips, tricks, and strategies to help level your marketing up, examine real-world case studies, and dissect all the marketing implications and how you can best use this information. And lastly, bring in industry professionals to share their knowledge along with entrepreneurs and discuss their marketing journeys in business. Now let's grab our lab coats and jump right in. So this is basically a breaking news podcast that we're going to be coming out with here. Somewhat of a case study at the same time is Meta just actually launched a new social platform, which is called Threads, and it's nearly a direct competitor with Twitter. And the reason why I say it could be a case study is because I think there's some marketing that went in behind this. I don't know if it was intentional. If it was intentional, I think it was pretty smart because it ended up driving a little bit of hype between Mark Zuckerberg and Elon Musk. And like I said, Threads is nearly a direct competitor with Twitter. So what ended up happening is I believe it was Mark initiated it, where he went onto Twitter and challenged Elon Musk to a fight. And I know a lot of other people have been starting to do this, more so for money grabs, where they'll challenge other people, say Logan Paul, Jake Paul, and they got into this fighting area and they started challenging retired boxers, retired MMA fighters, and it just generated a lot of money. And at first, when I first heard this, and a lot of people started talking about it, because a couple of the richest people in the world saying, hey, let's get into a fight and let's go and do this little shindig here. A lot of people started talking about that, and it generated hype. And sure enough, a couple weeks later, Meta, Facebook, whatever you want to call it, ends up releasing this new platform called Threads, which is nearly identical to Twitter. So it's basically a direct competitor. So I think it's kind of funny how Mark originally said, hey, let's get into a fight, Elon, where they end up releasing a direct competitor platform. I don't know if Elon knew that they were also going to be releasing this product or whatever it might be. But from what I've heard with, say, Andy Frisella, he talks a lot about other people in his industry, and he says he talks to a lot of the people that he's direct competitors with to see what they're doing, and they just bounce ideas off each other. But he says they're friends all at the top, so it would be interesting to hear if Elon and Mark were actually friends, and Elon may have known about Mark and Meta launching this new platform called Threads. And it would have been interesting to know the little dynamics behind that. And maybe Elon didn't know it all, and it was just on Mark's end and a little bit on his marketing platform or marketing tactic, marketing strategy, whatever you want to call it, where he's like, I'm going to challenge him to a duel. And then officially I'm going to challenge him to a duel in terms of businesses, because now I'm going to be a direct competitor with him. And with Threads coming out, this is fairly huge, because what happens when someone releases a new platform, say new social platform, a lot of people are going to want to go to it and flock towards it because they want to be an early adopter to it. And with other platforms, say something that isn't Meta, where you're just starting out on your own, you don't have this backing, you don't have this experience, you don't have this knowledge, you don't have all these users. It's tough to build up that following when you first launch, because no one really knows about you. You also have a very limited reach on the amount of people that you can actually get to and actually spread the word, I guess you could say. So it's a lot more tough if you're just starting out. Whereas with Meta, they already have a platform. They actually have two. They have Facebook and they have Instagram. So it's directly intertwined with both Facebook and Instagram, where you can connect your accounts and it's all seamless. And say someone that's already on Facebook or Instagram, they're already used to that. They don't want to go to a new platform, say like Twitter. You do have to download Threads, but it all intertwines with each other, where it's extremely easy to access. And what I've noticed so far, I've only been on it for a couple minutes, is that you can sync your data extremely easily, and then you can follow all the people extremely easily that you currently already follow on Instagram. I'm not sure if you can sync it through Facebook, but how I signed up was through Instagram, and it was just extremely easy and seamless. And it was when I had to create my bio and when I had to create my links, it's gives me the option to just sync it with Instagram. So and where Twitter is a completely new platform, and a lot of people don't want to have to go to a whole new platform, where Threads is, yes, a new platform, but at the same time, it's owned by Instagram, it's owned by Facebook, it's owned by Meta. So there is a sense where you don't really have to go through a whole new thing where it's all intertwined with one, I guess you could call, I can't think of the word, but like it's just all one web form and it's just all connected together. So with Threads coming out, there's going to be a lot of early adopters, a lot of people wanting to flock towards it and making sure that they are capitalizing on it, gaining new followers, gaining new traction, and generating more hype around, say, their business, their personal brand, whatever it might be. A lot of people are going to be going there. So we're going to dive into some of the different marketing implications that you can expect with Threads and what you should do if you should jump on. Maybe you're debating it. You're like, another platform. I don't want to go on there. So we're just going to dive into that a little bit, what you can do and what you can expect. And I think going into, like I was saying earlier, Meta has these platforms and they're able to reach these audiences. So they already have billions of people attached to, say, Instagram and Facebook. So they already have the audience to be able to generate a huge demand up front, where everyone's going to be creating an account, trying to gain that early adopters phase within Threads and just posting like crazy. There's already this one guy I'm talking to. He's already created an account. He's just taking his tweets and he's just posting them on Threads now. And honestly, I follow a few people, but he's just blowing my feet up because he's just constantly posting, trying to gain new following. And I think that's a great thing to do because it's something new. Everyone's going to be trying to get on there. Everyone's going to be trying to gain new followers, new traction. But the question is this just going to be a little hype thing where, say with Clubhouse, everyone was trying to go on there, and then all of a sudden, I don't even know if it's still around. I'm pretty sure it is, but I don't think a lot of people use it as much as when it first came out because there was a whole hype around it. And that's the same thing that's going on right now with Threads, where everyone's trying to flock there. It just got released. It's like a new shiny object, and everyone's like, oh, I want to play with this new toy. I want to get in there and get there as early as possible and just start playing around, see what I got and see what I can do on this platform. So there might be the first few weeks, there might be a lot of people that end up flocking towards it and trying to use it, trying to grow their following. But then after a few weeks, it starts to dwindle down and people are like, I'm not too sure about this. And they might start going away. So I think it might be a good idea to hop on there as soon as possible just to generate that following. And then what you can do is try and get them to your other platforms, say like Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. Maybe you have a podcast, maybe you have a YouTube channel, maybe you have a website or a business. Try and drive that traffic there. And what I always like to say is make sure you're capturing that information so you're able to market them if, say, one of the platforms goes down or they restrict you, or there's a lot of censorship that I'll get into later. But what I like to do is grab emails, grab cell phone numbers, because that means that you own that information. Whereas, say, if all your audience is on Instagram, say Instagram goes down for a day, or Mark Zuckerberg just decides to, hey, Instagram's done, we're throwing in the towel, and it's just deleted. Say you have 1 million people there, all of a sudden you just lost 1 million people. So that's why I try and say get emails, get cell phone numbers or whatever it is, so you have that information. So if that ever does happen, you're able to market directly to them and you're not losing their information. So if this is just, say, a shiny new object and everyone's just going to flock towards it, and then after a few weeks, a month, or however long it is, it's good to try and get people on those other platforms that you have established a good presence on and try and collect those emails or phone numbers. So I don't know if that'll happen, just because Facebook and Meta has billions of people already on these platforms. They're able to siphon that audience. They're not trying to start out from scratch. So I do think that there is a lot of good hype behind it. And at the same time, they're already experienced in social media. They've already built two very successful social media platforms. So they know what works, what doesn't. They already have the infrastructure behind everything. So I feel like they're going to be able to keep it there and be able to make it successful. It's just a matter of how are they going to do it, and if they are going to be able to do it, how many people are going to be going there? Are people going to be staying there and spending a lot of time there? Because one of the things that I know Twitter started to gain a lot of traction around once Elon bought it out is there was a lot of censorship. And this was a big issue back a couple years ago, especially with Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all these big platforms. There was a lot of censorship. They were pushing a narrative, and they wanted you to believe it a certain way. And anyone that spoke out against that narrative, they would get censored, or they wouldn't be able to push their content because they're speaking out against what they want you to think or what you want to believe. And since this is owned by Meta, and this is one of those platforms that was promoting some of this censorship, you're going to have to watch out for that, because people are getting sick and tired of getting censored. So I think that's a big reason why a lot of people did end up going to Twitter, because they eliminated a lot of the censorship. Obviously, there's going to be the typical censorship of maybe hate or violence or whatever it might be, but there's also the narrative that's trying to be pushed. And if that narrative continues to try to get pushed and all the people that speak out against the narrative get censored, people might just this might be a reason for people to end up going to Twitter. They never ended up downloading Twitter, but they got Threads. Maybe they enjoyed Threads, but then they found out everything was getting censored. Then they found out Twitter doesn't do the censoring, so they end up moving to Twitter. So there's a little bit of a possibility with Twitter ended up gaining new not really followers, but downloaders or signups through this if there is a censorship issue. So that's one thing that I would say to be mindful of, just because I know that censorship has been an issue in the past, and some people might not realize it, some people do, and a lot of people are just flocking towards Threads right now, and they're trying to hop on this new trend, and they want to be an early adopter. A lot of people are posting out there, so I do recommend it. I think it's a good platform to build that like, know, and trust factor, gain new audiences, and that's what you want to do. You want to gain that new audience, and once you build that like, know, and trust factor, provide a lot of valuable information to them, then here and there you can sprinkle in other information. Say, follow my Instagram, follow my TikTok, follow my YouTube channel. We have a podcast, we have a website, we do X, Y, and Z, and we help your business grow. And maybe it just helps the people that are currently following you, that ended up following you because of this new account that you created, this new social platform. You're able to reach into them, they're able to understand what you do, and it's just another way for you to generate a new following and have people that actually evangelize you and your company. So try and provide as much value as possible. I wouldn't say go out right out the bat doing, hey, this is what, follow me on here, follow me on there, follow me on there, and just promoting all this other stuff. Maybe have a little introductory post. This is who you are, this is what you do, and it gets people knowing who you are and understanding a little bit of what you do, but then provide a lot of value to them. Let them know why they should follow you. What are they going to expect when they do follow you? Do you post a lot of marketing information? Do you post a lot of personal development information? Do you post a lot of stuff in construction? Whatever it might be, let them know what to expect if they do end up following you on Threads, and then provide that value, build that like, know, and trust factor. And then here and there, you can sprinkle in other information. Say you grew your following through marketing, and say a couple months later, you maybe not, however long the time frame is, you say, I just dropped this podcast episode on the top tricks to grow your website traffic, or whatever it might be. Then you post it on there and say, maybe you can give a little short snippet of it and say, these are the top 7, and listen to the full episode on how you can capitalize. So it's always trying to provide value, and at the same time, just sprinkle in the other stuff to try and get that audience to your other platforms, just in case, say, Threads is just all hype right now, and maybe it is all hype and you end up gaining a couple thousand, million, whatever it might be, following. Try and get them to know what you do on the other side, say on your Instagram and your other platforms. So just try and spread that information around, because you are gaining a new following here, and they may have never heard of you before. So just try and educate them a little bit on what you do and how you can help them out, and try and get that audience on other platforms and email, text, whatever it might be. So with that being said, thanks for tuning in to the Marketing Lab. If you got some value out of this episode, share it with your team, colleagues, friends, or anyone you think this will benefit. You can leave a review and let us know how we did. We'll take any feedback so we can create the #1 marketing podcast out there and deliver the most value to you. If you would like to apply to be on our show and share your expertise, head on over to newframedigital.com/the-marketing-lab. And at the bottom of the page, you'll find a form to fill out. Remember, every entrepreneur needs a lab, and this is yours. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll catch you in the next one.